Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global GEG. My name is Georgina, and I am joined by a super special guest this evening, Carrie Bachman. Hi, Carrie, how are you?
Hi, everybody.
We are super excited to have you here with us today. I know that everybody has been super excited on social media chatting about today's session, all about sketchnoting. And before I hand the floor over to Carrie, I would like to introduce her with a super wow moment. So Carrie, as she knows already, is super special to my personal heart because she has been such an amazing, inspiring mentor for me in my creative journey over the last 6 months. And as a result of her one of the amazing, awesome initiatives she has called Doodle and Chat, and all of the inspiring ed tech leaders that also participate in Doodle and Chat, the family, I'm able to develop art skills and make connections and meet and connect with amazing ed tech leaders around the globe. And it's all thanks to Carrie. So just when I thought that there was no hope for my art skills or my drawing skills, and I'm almost 40 now, guys, so I'm getting up there, Carrie comes along out of nowhere at the beginning of this epic 2020 decade and totally saves the day. So Carrie, thank you for everything you've done for me. And I know that you are touching so many lives and inspiring so many people through the power of drawing. And so we are excited to hear all about your important message. And thank you so much for taking time out of your summer to come and share it with us today.
Can I just cry and then leave, and I'll let you take it over from here, right?
No, please, we need you.
No, I'm just overwhelmed with even just seeing so many friendly faces going through the chats. I see many Doodle and Chatters here, Pam and Kimberly and Lindsay and Karen and Amy. It's just wonderful to see the community here with us, but then also just the way we connected. I was sharing the story at the beginning off camera about how you met for the first rogue past the Sketchnote. Like, the world of Twitter is just an amazing universe full of just so much crisscross, and it's just wonderful. I'm just super excited to be here to have this opportunity to be part of a small part of Global GEG and all that you're doing for educators. And I'm just really super excited to share something that I'm always been passionate about being a special education teacher, and then sketchnoting came along, and it's something that I'm just equally as passionate about. So anytime I get to talk about it, I'm excited to share my story.
And we were just talking about all of those things just the other day across the channels. And so it's just such a great ability to tell a personal story and for your students to tell their stories through sketchnoting. And so we're just so grateful. For all of our viewers in the audience, please, this is really exciting to be able to connect with everybody today. So please go ahead, shout out where you're calling from or joining us from today, as well as your Twitter handle. I see some of you have already dropped your Twitter handle, so thank you very much. And it will allow us to connect with each other. And Carrie, are you ready to get our doodle on?
Let's do it, right? We have an hour. It's going to be jam-packed, so let's go ahead and start.
All right. The floor is yours.
So do I share my presentation, or are you guys in control of that?
Yeah, it's on the screen now. Yeah.
Yay. So this is only my second time ever doing a webinar. So everybody can just hold on, and I'm just really super excited to be here. I am Carrie Bachman. I'm a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade special education teacher from the northwest suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, in the States, because I know we have a world community here. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also a wife and a mother of 2 children, and I am the proud author of My Pencil Made Me Do It, a guide to sketchnoting, which this session is inspired by. And so I'm super excited to go ahead and get started. This session is jam-packed. So it's going to be an hour long, but I know we have tons of people here. I want to make sure everybody gets the most out of the session. So while I have things that I want to get through, and I know the session, how I want the session to go, what's most important to me is that everybody who's here gets a chance to ask questions and get what they need from it. So I don't want anybody to wait till the end to ask questions. If you have a question, Georgina is going to be helping me watch the comments. And if you have a question about something, Georgina will pop out or shout out and let me know what it is. And I'm happy to stop. I'm even happy to detour and go whatever direction we need so that everybody who's here can get the most out of what's happening today.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love the way you said I'll pop in and out. So guys, literally that's what's going to happen. Stephanie is going to literally pull me off the screen and I'm going to pop whenever Carrie needs me, just like that. All right.
You should just stay.
Okay. I'll hang out for a while, but you're going to see everybody's going to be really, really excited with what you've got to show. Go ahead, Carrie. You're up.
So before we get started, if you didn't bring a pencil and a paper to this session, take a second, run, even if it's just an envelope and a pen from your junk drawer. I don't know if you guys are like me, we have a junk drawer full of stuff. Grab a pen or a pencil. This is a hands-on session. We will be doodling to learn. And so I want you to have the full experience of this time spent together so that everybody can feel what it's like to sketchnote. That is our goal today. All right.
Everybody is super excited, Carrie.
They are. I see that.
Loads of hearts in the chat. It's awesome.
It is. It is awesome.
I have my iPad ready. So
all right.
If you're a digital person like me, you can use iPad, or paper is awesome also.
100%. 100%. All right. So whenever we start sketchnoting, everybody, like we heard Georgina give an introduction to me, everybody has their story when it comes to sketchnoting, when it comes to drawing, when it comes to who they think they are as a drawer or who they think they aren't as a drawer. We bring a lot of memories, experiences to the table when it comes to putting pencil to paper. And some of them are super positive, and we've all known that for a long time, drawing is a great thing and it makes us happy. Some of us think I can't even draw a straight line, so why would I even want to sketchnote? And some of us want to try it, but are scared because we might get judged or people might think that we don't have any artistic talent. And so everybody brings a story to the table. And I encourage you to think about your story throughout as I tell my story so that you can connect with it, because that story is going to be important to you. And that story is going to be important to your students and to your classroom, because it's going to be something super powerful that you'll be able to share with your students. And so I'm going to start with my story and how I started sketchnoting and how I discovered it. So these are my two kids, T and Anna, and I don't like that. T and go away, Annabeth. And my journey into sketchnoting started at our kitchen table. I would be folding laundry or making dinner, and they would spread out. This is our kitchen table with paper and pencils and markers, and they would draw and draw and draw. And the two of them would look at each other and they would giggle and they would talk. And then I would walk over there and ask them about what they were drawing, and they would have these huge, elaborate stories for me. Even before they had words, even before they were able to formulate sentences, they were able to elaborate and go on into these great detailed stories. And they smiled, and it made them so happy. So it didn't take long before I realized that in order to spend time with my children, I would need to get out the chalk like here on a fall day, or get out markers and lay on my belly with them on the floor in the living room and draw with them. And it didn't take long for me to realize that drawing together became our love language. It was the way that filled them up, and it was a way of spending time that we both love so much. And drawings became just part of our life. And every time my kids would share a drawing like this mermaid drawing from T, they would light up and smile and being able to tell that with them. And I would draw with them more and more. And as a blogger, I decided that what about writing out my stories? And I started adding crazy doodles to them. Like this time when Annabeth and I went to the mall, Woodfield Mall is a local mall here, and it's a huge mall. And I love, Stephanie, that you're collaborating on Jamboard. What a great idea. And it's wonderful to see you here, Renee and Kimberly. Thank you for your words of encouragement. So I combined words and images about this time that Annabeth and I went to the mall on Christmas Eve, because, you know, that's the best time to go to the mall. And it's never, it's never not an adventure, right? And so I shared out this drawing, this doodle that I had done on the floor, sitting on the floor with my kids watching TV after this moment. And I shared it out on Facebook. And one of my teacher friends was like, Carrie, that's an amazing sketch note. And I was like, what's a sketch note? Because all I knew was that I loved drawing and writing stories together with my kids. Oops. And so it didn't take long for me to realize that this drawing with my kids made me really, really happy. I got curious about sketchnoting. I learned about its elements and its parts, and I wanted to learn more about it. And so I looked into it, I learned about it, and I learned about how people sketchnote live. Like they sit there and they listen to people do it. And I learned all the rules about what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to sketchnote in pen. You're supposed to be able to take in all the information all at once and get it down on paper. And then from the time the person starts speaking till the end of they're done, you're supposed to finish the sketch note. And so I had my child's pencil case, an eraser, and I had my paper and I had a pencil. I wasn't ready to sketch note in pen. I was terrified. And I was ready to do it. I was at my state conference and I did my first sketch note. And I was blown away sitting there and listening to the person speak, taking in the information, connecting it with what it felt important to me, connecting with the words, adding the doodles, made me so happy, so engaged, so inspired. It like lit a fire in my heart that I had never experienced before. And then I went back to my hotel room and added all the markers and shared it out on Twitter, #ILoveSketchnoting. And time went on and I'm still like so happy. Drawing with my kids made me incredibly happy. Learning about sketchnoting and what it was wonderful. But I was certain that the students in my special education class, 2 to 3 years below grade level, a lot of them needed assistive tech for spelling and language issues. There was no way that they were going to be able to sketchnote. I was certain about it. But this voice, we all know it as teachers, right? When we're learning something, this voice that whispers at us and says, but it's important, but it's good, but it's worth it, kept whispering and didn't go away. And so one day I decided during my reading lesson, it was time. We were going to sketchnote. And so we were reading a modified version of House of Usher. We read a paragraph, and then I said to my students, what movie is playing in your head when you hear these words? And I got nothing. Nothing. So I looked around, was waiting, gave some wait time, repeated the question, still nothing. And so then I was like, oh, but I imagined this. And I went to the board and I doodled next to the paragraph what I was imagining and what I told them I was imagining. And then I walked around the room and every single kid in my classroom had copied exactly what I had drawn on there. And so weeks went on. The same thing happened every reading class. What movie's playing in your head? Let me tell you out loud what I'm imagining. Walk around, see everybody drawing the same thing, but then also going like, great job, great job connecting with the reading. Great job drawing that envelope, the envelope that they had just copied from my board, right? Until one day I was walking around the room, giving words and feedback and building them up with positives for putting paper to pencil and drawing with me. And I see Jose and he has his hands over his paper. And I'm like, what did you draw? Show me. And he lifts up his hand and he shows me. And in that moment, I call it our going rogue moment. Jose had drawn something completely different than what I had drawn on the board. And I gave him verbal praise and feedback, had asked him to tell me about his drawing. And everything in that moment, the moment that Jose drew not what I had drawn, but what had connected with him and his imagination, what was different than what the teacher was telling him to draw, was a moment that changed everything in my classroom. And in that moment, everything became visuals. Anytime I could insert visual thinking, imagining things in our head, what movies in our head, what pictures in our head, what video is more current is in our head, we would do it. We spent the time on the Constitution. Everything became visual. Our notes became visuals. The margins of our paper became visuals. And everything changed about how I viewed my students and their ability to do things. But also my students in that moment became part of this journey with me, and they became fearless. And that was a moment that I'll never forget. And it's always a very special part of my journey into sketchnoting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move forward a little bit, share with you what I've learned about sketchnoting. What is sketchnoting? Why is sketchnoting invaluable and important? How does it enhance our teaching and how does it improve students' learning? But before we do that, I want you to have your paper and pencil out. If you're a digital person, I see a lot of Jamboards going on. Google, GEG community, you guys are absolutely amazing. But I will tell you this, I do start with paper and pencil, and I am pretty religious about it in my classroom. Just making sure that the elements that I'm going to share with you today are very solidified, very independent, and students understand how to connect with their brain and their, I guess it's their body, right? Their hands before we move to digital. So I've got my paper here. I'm going to twist a little bit here. I've got my paper here and my pen, and hopefully I'll write big enough. If I'm not writing big enough, I'll move the camera closer. And whenever we start a sketchnote, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we're connecting with the topic. And so I like to do this with students, whether it's an idea, whether it's something that we're reading, or whether it's something that we're hearing. What is the topic of what you're going to sketchnote? And I try to be very intentional about that, because by identifying the topic, we're then anchoring students' focus and what they're going to be listening for or reading for. And so today we're going to be sketchnoting about sketchnoting. And so on your paper, and I'm going to put mine in the middle, but you can go crazy with wherever you want it to go. And I'm going to write the word sketchnoting because this sketchnote is going to be about sketchnoting. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And that is a first for me, drawing on the wall in my basement. Thank you, Chris. I hope the ideas and it connect with you. I appreciate that support. So I think I'm going to talk a little sideways. So we're getting everybody if I'm going to keep going, but if anybody gets stuck, I know I have lots of doodle and chatters. That's something else we'll get to at the end here, who are very knowledgeable about how I teach. And so if anybody has questions about anything, shout it out in the comments. And this community is amazing. I can already tell everybody will help you. So the first thing I like to do is identify the topic of the sketchnoting. So we're going to be sketchnoting about sketchnoting. And so now I'm going to get into your why, your what is sketchnoting, and your why sketchnoting. I'm not going to turn the camera around and write that in, but if we were live, like in person, I would have you record your why, record your what it is, and record it in here, because part of sketchnoting is what it is and why it is. So I encourage you to do that if you're up for that. All right, so we're going to go back to, see if I can do this. Oh, thank you, people behind the screens. All right, so sketchnoting, I like to call it visual thinking and doodling to learn. I like to separate the two a little bit because I feel like there's lots of parts of sketchnoting that we can use to really enhance our teaching and improve our learning. And if we think about it more globally and in a broader way, it really is super powerful. So sketchnoting it's an idea, but also it's taking in an idea. It could be just from our head, but in school, it generally is something we read, something we see with our eyes, or we hear information that we hear. We take the information into our head and our brain connects with those words, right? And then when we're sketchnoting, we activate the other side of our brain and we visualize, or we play that movie in our head, what pictures in our head that goes along with those words. And when those words and picture come out together, those words are usually synthesized a little bit, shorter, smaller parts of what we've learned or comprehended or connected with, along with an image. And that is sketchnoting. We take in information with our eyes and our ears, we process it, connect it with an image, and then take that image and information that we connected with and write the words on paper with a doodle. And that is sketchnoting. And I can share all of these out on Twitter later. If people are scrambling to get things down, I'm happy to share out slides. If you guys just let us know what you want me to share out, I'm happy to share it out later. So why sketchnoting? So I get the whole process, Carrie. So sketchnoting is powerful for a lot of different reasons. And what I just explained to you is metacognition, right? It's super powerful. Thinking about our thinking, taking in information about sketchnoting or any topic that we're taking information on, connecting with it. Is it new? Is it important? Does it make me feel something? What's important to me? What is new to me is different than what might be different to somebody else. And that can be new, that can be a different experience for a lot of students. But really connecting with our own thinking and connecting with how information connects to us is metacognition. And so that's one benefit of sketchnoting. The second benefit is it's biological. We are born, from the day we're born, to love pictures, to love images. Our brain processes images way faster than it does words. Doodling and drawing also makes us happy. Adult coloring books. I saw somebody say they love to color with their son. Putting paper to pencil and drawing is something that fills a part of our biological body and also makes us really, really happy. And it's a form of self-regulation. So putting paper to pencil, and this is another reason why I do really like to do paper pencil, is a form of self-regulation. It's a form of centering ourselves, calming ourselves. A lot of times in this classroom where we're sketchnoting with students, it's going to go silent because they're in the zone. They're inside with themselves. They're completely regulated. They're calm and they're drawing. We use drawing as self-regulation all the time. And Crystal, I hope that you're going to connect with drawing and find a little part of an inner doodler inside of you as we go. And so we'll see. Oh, you're very good at drawing. Oh, awesome. No, that's awesome, Crystal. So you already know the love of drawing. Now it's time to connect with the words. And so we'll get to all of that. And then also sketchnoting it's emotional. So now we're not just taking in our head. We're not just bringing in the motor for our hands, but we're connecting it with inside of our body, connecting with an emotional connection. So now think of all the anchors information has. It has what we see or hear. It's the image in our head. It's something we've put paper to pencil on and drawn. And then also we're connecting with information that's connecting to us. And that all those things together, the more we can anchor information to different parts of our body and our brain, the more powerful retention, recall, and comprehension is going to be. And that brings us into dual coding. Dual coding is activating both sides of your brain, your word side of your brain and your visual side of your brain. And when you activate both of those sides of your brains together, we get a more powerful learning experience. Not only does learning become improved for students, but your teaching is enhanced because students are comprehending better, their retention is better, and their recall is better. So lots of ways that that sketchnoting is powerful. Antonetti, I hope that you're going to see that you have this in you, and it's not about art, but it's about connecting words with images and bringing out the best in your teaching and in your students' learning. So now what I want you guys to do is connect with your inner doodle. And I'm going to turn my chair a little bit and do this with you. So this is totally fine. One of the first things that you're going to find is you're going to kind of have to take a check. Like I've seen some people commenting, I'm a great drawer. I call them like our forever artists, right? And then you're going to see some people who maybe like, the last time I drew was when I was 5. And I'm done. I draw like a 5-year-old doodlers. And then you're going to be your other closet doodlers. Oh, I used to draw in the margins of my notebooks when I was a teenager. All our 80s gals out there, or people, I should say people out there who used to doodle on the margins of their notebooks. So what you need to do though, in order to step into sketchnoting is to connect with your inner doodler. And so you have to push away your fear. You have to push away your fear of judgment, fear of somebody telling you it's not good enough. There is no good enough. Your drawings are your drawings. How it looks to you, how you imagine the information and the words is how it connects with you. And that is what is the most valuable thing. And what else is going to be valuable for you is putting pencil to paper and drawing with your students. Because sharing them your sketchnoting journey with them, sharing with them this experience of drawing together, even if it's uncomfortable, share with them that it's uncomfortable. But what it's going to do is offer you opportunities in your classroom to create a fearless environment where being brave and being fearless, trying new things is welcomed and it's encouraged and it's embraced. And so that's what drawing has done for me. And that is also why I don't even know how to say it differently. You have to draw with your students. It's essential for sketchnoting. And also the effects that you will see of it having in your classroom will blow your mind. So I'll just leave it there before I get off my preach. So what I want you to do first is I want you to think of 5 words that describe you, and I want you to write them on your sketch note. Okay, so I'm going to do that here too. So Dana, I love this comment about your 8-year-old. So I'm going to talk to Dana while you guys are writing, okay? So we're picking up 5 words that describe you. And so, Dana, I love that you said that. 8-year-olds haven't been told that they can't draw yet. Some of us have. I have several doodle and chatters here, and some of them have shared really emotional stories with me. We are taught, like after 3rd grade, that drawing is not always valuable, or somewhere down the line, somebody has told us that we're not a good artist. But drawings, it's in us, you guys, I promise. We just have to put our pencil to paper and try. I know, right, Stephanie? Like somewhere down the line, we all have a journey, a mark that's been made. Either we heard it and we ignored it, and we're like, I can draw, I don't care what you say. Or it's destroyed us, and we've never even picked up a pen again. But Dana's 8-year-old draws because Dana's 8-year-old is fearless, because Dana's 8-year-old doesn't have any voices in her head telling her she can't do it, or a memory that tells them that they can't do it too. And so this brings me to also, I'm going to let you guys draw your 5 words. I'm going to keep talking. So this brings me also to something else that you can do when you're drawing with your students. Give them words. Be the one that fills up that bucket that was empty. Tell them words about their drawing and tell them how much you like it. Tell me about that drawing. I'm sorry that happened to you, Chris. And tell them, fill them up with words, fill them up with that bucket. Build that wall for them. Give them words and experience, and then give them time to come around. And that will build not only a classroom that sketchnotes together, but just imagine the incredible voices that they'll have playing in their head anytime they put pencil to paper. Okay. So I'm going to cheat you guys. I'm going to put 2 words because I'm talking and I'm not doing a good job of talking and thinking right now. All right, so I have my 5 words up, or I have my 5 words up here. You guys have your 5 words, right? And I'm going to switch back to my slides really quick. Oh, and I love global GED. Thank you so much for popping that up. That's a great prompt. So we're already playing. Oh, I want to go back there. Actually, I'm going to talk and let you guys draw because I am talking a lot. So you've written your 5 words about yourself. So now I want you to imagine your five words. And so if you're stuck on your words, Chris, you need to stop cracking me up, dude. So if you look along the bottom of this slide, you'll see several shapes. And these are the visual alphabet. And it's an alphabet created by a man named Dave Gray. And the idea behind it is like every word is formed by letters. So cat has C, A, T. Every image can be made of something of these visual alphabet icons. So if I'm having trouble, drawing a mug, I imagine a square with a half, like a half C. If I'm having trouble drawing a tree, I imagine 2 lines going down and like a cloud above it. If I imagine a house, I imagine a rectangle and then a triangle on top. So being connected, knowing about the visual alphabet can also empower us. It breaks down images into simple parts that we all can draw. You all can draw all those little shapes. But when we break down these images into those little shapes, it allows us to connect with images in a much more basic level and something that's doesn't make us as fearful. Ed Emberley, totally, Jen. His books are amazing. And maybe you know, I should check the date on this. Ed Emberley probably invented the visual alphabet, right? Only, hello, Valerie. I am so happy that you are here. Thank you so much. I wonder, you know, Ed Emberley probably was the originator of the visual alphabet. He just didn't give it a name, right? But also, as I'm teaching, having knowledge of the visual alphabet, and I'm drawing with my students, right? So I read the word smile. I'm reading it. I'm taking the word smile into my head and imagining it in an image. Smile, smile, smile. So I'm imagining like a half U and then a U with some lines on it. That's a smile. And then my word is family. And so I want you guys to do this too with your words. So I want you to read each word, take it in, see it in your head. What picture plays in your head when you come to the word? Now, we are still very new at this. So some of you might have picked kind of some abstract words that might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. But what if I told you a thought bubble is a doodle, or a talk bubble is a doodle? So maybe I don't want to draw a stick figure of my family, because honestly, I don't like drawing stick figures. They're not my thing. I don't draw them. I avoid them like the plague. But I can say what my family would say, or I can say what I would think about my family. And so I'm going to put a little talk bubble here. And it's going to say, I love you. And then I'm going to think, because they make me happy. So thought bubbles and talk bubbles, squares, triangles with words on them. Any way that you connect with that word is the way that's important to you. And just the act, no matter how, and they've proven this, no matter how messy or bad your drawing is, it's still valuable, more valuable than not drawing at all. Chris, you need to stop. I could think of like 3 words for you. You're funny, you're outgoing. I'm guessing that you're adventurous because you've tried singing and drawing, and you're still here doing things. So I've come up with 3. Oh my gosh, Pam, we can't even go into that. You can't off track me like that, Pam. So your drawings are important to you. It doesn't matter how well you draw. It matters that you draw. That is the power behind sketchnoting and the power of doodling to learn. I'm wondering that, Tamina. That's my initial impression, but I could be wrong. You know, it's only words. I hope he's not. All right, I'm going to go back to my, thank you. All right, so we've talked about what sketchnoting is. We've talked about why it's valuable to us. You've broken in your drawing muscles. You're feeling a little bit bravery. You feel how it feels to take that deep breath and put paper to pencil. That's the feeling that your students also feel sometimes in your classroom. So this moment here, or the moment that you remember connecting with drawing, embrace that moment. It's not a moment to be ashamed of. It's not a moment to be scared of. And that's a moment to embrace, because when we connect those feelings to ourselves, we bring those into our classrooms and we can connect with students then, because we understand how they feel. Or if they're feeling a certain way, we can come up with an intervention or a strategy to help them overcome that. So now I want to talk about sketchnoting. We're going to sketchnote about sketchnoting. And sketchnoting has lots of different elements. And one of my most favorite things about sketchnoting is we see sketchnotes. You guys have all seen them on the internet. They're beautiful. They're perfect. They're overwhelming. They make you turn off your screen and think, I'm never going to sketchnote again. But if we look deeper into sketchnoting and we look at what it is, taking in information with our eyes and our ears, processing the information, connecting with an image, and drawing and writing. Sketchnoting has so many elements that just by themselves can enhance our teaching and improve our students' learning. So while sketchnoting ultimately is this, I argue that the ideas that I'm going to share with you now are also sketchnoting and are ways that you can break down sketchnoting, take elements of sketchnoting, and use them in your classroom. Just even one, even if you went back to school or back to whatever school looks like, and you used one element, that would enhance your teaching, and that will improve your students' learning. You guys are cracking me up. All right, so the first part of sketchnoting is fonts. And so I'm going to write the word fonts up here, and then I'm going to copy some fonts here. And then I'm going to also tell you what fonts are. If you want to, if there's time, I'm going to try to. I'm going to write what fonts are, but I'm going to tell you what fonts are. So a fancy word for fonts is topography. And topography is different ways that we can write letters in sketchnoting. And so in sketchnoting, we can use how we write letters to show different areas of information. We can show different importance. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to write the word fonts here. And I'm just going to capture some different fonts. I'm going to look at some that I drew. I'll get one more in there. Curly Y. So now we're sketchnoting about sketchnoting, and one of the parts of sketchnoting is fonts. All right, I'm going to keep going. Georgina's doing an amazing job of taking notes. So if you're looking to add like what, so a way to raise your game today, like if you wanted to take this up from just what I'm showing, but really amplify this experience for yourself, it would be to take what Georgina's typing. So she's given out pro tips. If you took what Georgina was typing and wrote 2 or 3 words in here, you would be adding, I mean, this is sufficient. This is fine. These are fonts. Your brain's going to remember because you've already drawn stuff, right? But if you added a step, if you wanted to take it a step up, take what Georgina's typing in the tips, and then also look at that on Jamboard, and then, or you could even go back later on and read what Georgina's saying and try to micro summarize it, what I call micro summarize. So take all of those words and break it down to like one sentence under these. Fonts show importance with letters. That's fonts, right? And then you could add that in there if you wanted to add a little bit more text. But even just this is enough. All right, so we're going to go back to the slides. So when we think about sketchnoting, we think about these big sketch notes, but I also want to think about the power of the parts in sketchnoting. So topography, using letters to show importance in our notes. In this flowcharty kind of notes, we just added bubbles, a bubble yes and a bubble no. So by bubbling the letters, making them bold, we showed interest and importance in these areas. That's fonts. That's sketchnoting. In this one, we made the where in the center of the cloud, just a little bit different. So it was enough to bring my attention to that, to tell my brain that that's important, that's something to look at, that I want to see, and that's a change in the font. That's sketchnoting. In this one, we see at the top, there's all caps and pros and cons, and then we see some cursive. So the cursive tells me, it brings my eye in and tells me that those are the categories of things. And then the lowercase words are all the different facts about what's happening. And then the varying fonts in the middle just add a nice touch, but also bring my eye to it and tell me that that's important and that's the title of this sketch note. And in this one here, we have another bubble letter. So just, using bold, I joke about it all the time. I have like 4 fonts that I use. I use all caps, a lowercase, a cursive. I lied. I have 3. And now I have a bold one that I've developed over like my 5 years of sketchnoting, only because my one daughter loves fonts. But you don't need a lot of fonts to have a good sketchnoting game, and just using that. And even like I'm seeing a lot of math comments, using different fonts in math could be super powerful. You could even identify which font students are going to use for which sections of their paper. So then you're having like, these are the steps, but I'm using this font for the steps. I have to anchor that in my head, right? That cursive or maybe bold or lowercase is the font that I'm using for notes. So I'm going to visualize lowercase notes. So even just having to visualize that, that way for the font would be great also. And then sometimes, you guys, there are no fonts. Like I was prepping for you guys and practicing last night, and I was going through trying to find all these fancy fonts. And what I've also noticed is sometimes the fonts don't matter. The fonts are just what the fonts are, and we just have to draw and capture the information. And it doesn't matter how pretty or how messy it is. It is what it is to us, right? It is how we connect to us. Gerardo, I will talk about the slides at the end. So thank you, Stephanie, for saying something. All right, next is on to something called icons in sketchnoting. And icons are that image that we imagine in our head. So we take in information with our eyes and our ears, and we imagine it in our head. We draw what's called, the fancy word for it, the fancy word for drawing, doodle, is called an icon. And for me, this is where I start. I want to make sure when I start with my students sketchnoting that they are able to visualize, that they take that information into their head with their eyes and their ears, and that they're paying attention to that picture that's playing in their head. If our students aren't visualizing, they aren't comprehending. So this skill is a super important muscle that our students need to flex often. And when they do, our teaching is enhanced and our students' learning improves. And so I really spend, you guys, I spend a ton of time on icons, and I saw Lindsay Foster sharing a margin idea in there, and we're going to get into that. So icons are what we imagine when we see the word or words in our head, and it's what we draw on paper. And this, to me, of all the things, if you picked one thing to do, and all of them are valuable and all of them I love, but if you picked one thing to do to bring back to your classroom, it would be the knowledge that visuals are powerful. And whether you're adding a picture to things to help improve a to-do list or a lesson, or having students visualize their thinking and doodling just a single icon, it is one of the most powerful things that you can do for students. So I'm going to add to my sketch note. So I'm sketchnoting about sketchnoting. And the next thing that I said was icons. I always draw my dog because he's easy for me. He's like a U, and then he's like an M without the dent in it, right? And then we have a flower, which is a circle with a cloud around it. And a house is a square with a triangle on top. And then if you want to get into the light bulbs, it's just a bunch of squiggly lines with an upside down U. And so icons, and I know Georgina shared a pro tip, and remember, this is all on the Jamboard. Icons are what we imagine, are doodles of what we imagine in our head when we're learning. I know, isn't that fantastic, Georgina? Yes, and Lindsay's also sharing out a tip too, if you're stuck on how to draw something or what to do. Lindsay Foster shared out that the Noun Project or at Icon Finder, if you need just basic images, it's a great way to get kids started. Also, it teaches them how to search. So if I'm learning about, like, I don't know, like a state, I could search. You have to be more specific about your searches when you're going into the Noun Project. And so it really gets students to really hone in on what they're thinking. But then also exposes them to different icons that might also represent that image. But the more we can get into students finding value in the things that they imagine, the faster, the more fearless and the more brave, and the more they're going to connect with their learning on their terms. So yes, and I see a lot of comments here, and I want to see them. I'm going to move something over. Hold on a second. Oh, thank you, Laura. That's good input. All right, so we know icons, right? So now, if I just take the idea of icons, I'm taking in information with my eyes and my ears, and I'm visualizing it in a doodle. How can we use just that one element of sketchnoting to enhance our teaching and improve our students' learning? So here's a quote, and Annabeth and I did this together, and we just took each single word and visualized it. Like I've. How do you draw I've? Well, I drew a person holding a flower. Like I've got this flower, right? You. How do you draw you? A sheep is a you. So I drew a sheep. So just taking quotes or words or basic words in our classroom and adding icons to them in a variety of different ways, visualizing them, is sketchnoting. And I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. I'm a little scared that I'm going to go over an hour, and I'm not sure if we're going to get cut off or if I'm allowed to keep going. So this is our House of Usher page, right? So we'd read the paragraph, and then the students would doodle in the margins. And if you notice, some of those are just words on the side of there, words that they summarized, they micro-summarized. There's talk bubbles in there. There's a circle with a lot of hair. Those are all icons added to their writing. And when we went back and I asked some questions about the modified version of House of Usher, they were able, instead of having to look over the paragraph and read it, they could look at the icon, connect it to what they remember the icon stood for, raise their hand, and their recall improved so much. Oh, wait. Are you guys asking me to move over? I can move over. Let me see. Wait, let me go this way. I think you guys are asking me to see the sketch note. Okay. How's that? All right. And so here's another one. This is from our Constitution lesson. We just picked up a pen, and what were the powers of Congress? We read a paragraph. We imagined what those words made us imagine in our head. No, we can go to the slides. Yeah. And we can doodle them in the side of our paper. Oh, that's awesome, Tara. Hold on. Where did I lost you? Your question. Where did you go, Laura? Hold on, Laura. So Laura, that's not this. That on the screen is just a passage from our reading. And so we were reading this together, and I would stop at the end of every paragraph and ask them what movie's playing in your head. And then they would doodle in the side of the margins. Let me know if that doesn't answer your question, Laura. Now, some of you guys are going to say, well, what if I don't have consumable books, Carrie? Post-it notes. Oh my gosh, you guys, I could give a whole session on Post-it notes. I love Post-it notes. They're sticky. They're movable. They're a restrained container, meaning you can only put so much in them. Post-it notes are great for adding doodles to images and tape and putting them down next to the pages that we're reading. So you can move this along. And then the Post-it notes are sticky. So you can pull them off, and kids can build their own sketch note on a paper on their desk, or students can work with a partner to talk about what facts are valuable and which ones aren't. They could have discussions about what they think needs to stay and what doesn't. The whole class could pool their sketch notes together, Post-it notes together, and formulate different categories where they think these Post-it notes belong. I'm in, Lester. And also GED, do I have, like, am I going to get cut off in an hour? Like, do I really need to pick up the pace, or if we go over and people stay, are we good?
We are good. You can keep going. But real quick, I know you love Chris.
Oh, was he not a good person?
Oh, no, we love Chris.
Oh, okay.
Global GG loves Chris, and I just wanted you to see his sketch notes. He is out there on Twitter sketchnoting.
I see. I knew he was fearless. That level of sassiness does not come without fearlessness. I appreciate you so much, Stephanie. Thank you.
So Chris, we love you at Global GEG.
Okay, you guys, this is the second time I'm going to just cry. I just need to go away and cry because you guys are so awesome. So can we go back to the slides, please? So anyways, Post-it notes, sticky, movable. Yes, thank you. Sticky, movable possibilities are infinite. They also come in different colors and they come in different shapes. So you see where I'm going with this. So sticky notes are great for all kinds of stuff. And yes, Lindsay Foster, I love how you're adding in all this information. You're such a wealth of knowledge. Sketchnotings can be a storyboard. Absolutely. It can be a process. They can be a timeline. They could be project planning, right? You have your project line and students put up their Post-it notes. You do a Genius Hour. They put their Post-it notes on their paper, and as they go through their Post-it notes, and so if we're doing Genius Hour and we have our timeline of events that we're doing, we're not just only writing the steps now. What does that step look like? Does it look like me focusing? Does it look like me paying more attention? Does it look like me using my notes? So we can add visuals to our Post-its and our to-do list and then remove them as we go. I love using Sketchnote as a visual library in my classroom. So we'll start a unit and students will preview. Thank you, Marissa. I'm in 1,000%. Post-it notes, we go through the unit and the students preview it. And I say, anything that you read or look at that you know, write a Post-it. And so students walk over and they put the Post-it note on the board. I also love this because when we're using Post-it notes, they peel them off and they go to stick them on the board or on a wall. They have to stand up and move. So now we're adding instant movement to our lessons, right? So students aren't just sitting, they're standing up and moving. It's a very good motor activity, right? But what I'm doing is being sneaky, right? I'm previewing. What do they know about this lesson already? How much do I need to review? And how much can I go forward? And then as we're doing the lesson, this board builds and builds and builds. Every time we come to something new that we didn't know, we add a new doodle. And then at the end of the unit or at the end of a lesson where we're answering questions or they're being asked to write, writing paragraphs and extensive passages for some of our students can be super tricky, right? But if we have the visuals up on the board, it's not cheating to anchor information to images to support students' learnings. Students could just look over and look at a Post-it note and nobody else has to know that they needed, a Post-it note on their thing, or students could go over to the board and pull the Post-it notes that they want to use in their writing and keep it on their desk. Normalize the use of visuals because everybody benefits from them. And our teaching is only going to be enhanced by it, right? I just saw something. It was David. Yes, David. And you're just like whooshing away ahead of me, David. We're going to get to color in a little bit. All right, so Post-it notes. Also, classroom libraries can be a powerful way to introduce sketchnoting. Pick icons that you're comfortable with drawing, that your students are comfortable with drawing, but then attach what those icons are going to mean in their notes. So take the notes you're already doing. I saw somebody say they love to do sketchnoting with Cornell notes. Having a classroom library, using Cornell notes, use what you're already doing, but having a classroom library, like the light bulb, means it makes me think or makes me wonder. The star means I love this. The heart means this made me feel something. This made me feel connected to this. So you can anchor icons to specific feelings or specific parts of learning that you want them to connect with. And then add that to what you're already doing. And that is sketchnoting. All right. And so here I took the way we took notes already. We had phases. And then at the end, it was a great way to review. So we had already synthesized so much information, right? But now students had an opportunity to read the words and then imagine what they would imagine when they read those words. And they added simple doodles to something that I was already doing in a lesson that was planned for this research-based lesson that I was giving through a program. But by adding the doodles, I was enhancing my teaching and improving their learning and solidifying and connecting information for them. Math problems. I'm sure a lot of you, just by reading your comments, are already doing this, but let's not forget, as the kiddos get older, the power of drawing, the power of visualizing information, the power of imagining a word problem in our head to bring it to life, to connect it. Whether I'm adding doodles to my lesson to enhance it to enhance my teaching, or students are adding it to their word problems to improve their learning, visuals have a place in every subject. All right, containers. Containers have become, they kind of were like the ugly stepsister for me, but they have become a new, absolutely love thing for me, containers. And so containers hold things, and I'm going to go a little bit faster unless somebody says, no, Carrie, you're already going fast enough. So containers are things that hold information. A thought bubble holds words. It's a container. A talk bubble holds words. It's a container. That little shout out can show excitement, right? And so containers are another element in sketchnoting. What we got? Oh, shout out thingy. I don't know if there's an official name for this thing. Oh, Dana, I love that. And you know, Dana, there's no shame in like having like a pre-structured thing for them, like kind of scaffolding it for students as they enter your classroom, especially if you're a class that they may not have for the whole year. You want to like jumpstart their engagement in it. And then you can pull away the things that you've pre-added, like places for like who, what, when, where, why. You wouldn't use that in computer science, but if you had your categories, right, pre-done, and you use different containers for the different parts of computer science that you wanted them to always remember as they're working on something or learning something in your classroom. And then, you could pull away some of those scaffolds on the paper as time goes and remove some of those containers as a scaffold. Chris, I'm happy that I said what I said, and I'm having a blast. So I didn't actually see if they said I could go on or not. I feel like, Stephanie will come in and yell at me. Oh, she already told me to keep going. Never mind. Oh, I didn't hear if I was going too fast or not. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, I'm going to keep going then. All right, so, back to the slides, please. I feel so powerful. I need like a little assistant in my life that sits behind my screen and does everything for me. Because these people are awesome. Can we go back to the slides? Thank you. All right, so this is the same note sheet you guys saw, but by a different student. These are the phases. So this student added their icons. They didn't add as many. They're not as colorful, but they're there. If you peek in there, and if I asked that student to tell me about icons, they could. But they added containers in that. So their phases are circles, and the steps in the phases are rectangles. This is nothing new, you guys, right? We've done this before in our lessons. Yes, Alexis, you are reading my mind and way ahead of me. Anything can be a container. 100%. My new phrase besides 100% is 1,000%. So Alexis, 1,000%. All right, Christy, that's awesome. And so this is also using containers. So this student was just really struggling with the quantity of information that they needed to take notes on. And so each piece of paper became a topic. We were looking at kids had made museum presentations. So each piece of paper was a different dinosaur in the museum. And then each Post-it, he knew he got 5 Post-its on the paper that were blank. He had to fill out 5 pieces of 5 Post-its with information. And then he had to, he had all the notes, right? And he was having trouble organizing them. So we gave him the big pieces of paper, and he had to go through and categorize and remember where those Post-its went. This is sketchnoting. The Post-it notes are containers. The paper is containers. The papers are holding information about individual dinosaurs, and then the Post-its are holding facts about each dinosaur, and that is sketchnoting. I'm so happy, Toby. All right, containers are here. This student just had a blast with them, right? So we've got words all over the page, and they just decided to add containers wherever they wanted to add containers. But in doing so, it looks haphazard. But when I look at the sketch note and I walk over to talk to the student, their ideas are very delineated and very separated, and they're organized because they use containers in the way that connected with them. All right, this is, it looks like a beast, but this is something that progresses throughout the whole year for my students. And so I love Post-it notes. I told you that already, right? So we will listen to a lesson in my classroom and students will take notes on Post-it notes. And then we organize the Post-it notes on a big group sketch note. I love group sketch notes. I love putting butcher paper on the floor and laying on our stomachs and talking and moving Post-it notes and creating together. And so I have smaller groups of students, but you could do this with 5 students. And the collaboration and the talking and the dialogue that has to go on, the give and take, where do you think this belongs or where do you think this belongs? And then we put the Post-its on note cards and we organize them. And so I've used Post-it notes and note cards as containers to contain information and make it just more movable. We can have conversations about learning and about information when our information is mobile, right? And so if we think differently about how we use containers in our classroom or what are containers in our classroom, we can improve the experience students have interacting with the learning. I say go for it, Tammy. I mean, the Post-it notes could totally teach them how to synthesize, right? They have to take in information and synthesize it. They have to type it. I've often met students halfway when it comes to drawing. If you get students who are really fearful, you can still take the process of sketchnoting without the drawing and students can still have a really great effect. What do you imagine when you read those words? Okay, find a Google image for it. And then they could use Jamboard and then they could draw arrows and other things that we're going to get into. Oh, I'm so happy, Chris. And I'm also just so happy to have connected with you. I'm happy about everybody. I'm just like a big happy little person right now. So I hope that helps, Tammy. So yes, you can always use digital icons to meet students halfway. Our goal is always to have them draw, but if you need to meet them halfway, but own the process. We take in information with our ears and our eyes. We imagine it. What movie or image do you imagine? And that's what comes out. Ultimately, we love them to draw, but if it becomes digital, if that's what we have, like where a lot of us are doing remote learning. So drawing can be plus and minuses. There's ways to get around it. Georgina and I have talked about ideas for that. But if we need to just make sure they're visualizing, Google Images can be brought in easily. All right, like an icon library, you could have a container library. So when students see information in the notes that you're already taking, they could add a thought bubble if this makes them think. They could put a square or a rectangle around words that need that are facts. They could put a say next to something, especially in math notes, something that they need to say to themselves or remind them of themselves. Containers might also be a great thing at the beginning of a lesson. They could say something to themselves, a positive affirmation. And the little squigglies could be something that they remember. Pam, thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me that you were here. And Chris, is it Crystal? The LE at the end throws me, and I want to make sure I get it right. I'm so happy that you are here with us today. Thank you so much. Mwah, Pam. Cheryl, I think that it's all up to Google GED, but if it's up to me, I'm all aboard. All right. I saw somebody else thinking ahead on me, and I can't remember what your name was, but you said, can't anything be a container? Yes, anything can be a container. So this is a sketch note, but it's an apple. But everything in the apple is about apples. Just like the tree that you guys saw before, that was a sketch note, right? And we could have put anything in the tree about trees. So images can be sketch notes too. Oh, here's the tree quote again, right? So this is a tree, which is a sketch note. So containers can be sketch notes. Containers can hold information. What if we flip it? Oh, that's the wrong picture. I think I took it out. And this one just has repetitive containers, which we've seen before in students' notes, right? And so, good. I'm happy I got it right, Crystal. Thank you for saying something. And so we can use containers all the same way. All right, connectors and dividers. Kind of not a well-spoken about. They're kind of a very simple thing. Oh, Chris, I like what you're thinking. We might have to talk about that. Yes, stop, Chris. No, but keep going, Chris. Anyways, now Chris threw me off. What are we at? Arrows and connectors, okay? So these are things in sketch notes that or I call them connectors, that connect information. They sync information. They show similarities in information in our sketchnote. Connectors. So connectors, they show order, they might show importance, they connect things, and dividers. Thank you, Laura. That's what I said before. I love it, Marissa. I love how you're thinking. Ronan, if you're leaving, thank you so much for being here. Sorry, we're going a little bit long. I would love for us to connect also. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so connectors, another one of these notes, right? This is by a completely different student in my classroom. And so this student decided that they were going to show arrows to connect with their doodles. So they, you know, went off the chart, went off on their own way, totally fine. But their arrows connect the information to the doodle. And again, here is our sketch note that I showed earlier with the fonts. These arrows, this is actually a Bill of Rights flowchart, right? And the arrows are showing just different paths, things we've done before, right? But just in a more intentional way, using our motor planning, using our muscles, using our brain to visualize how are we going to connect things and putting pen to paper. That's super powerful. Kratita, thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry that we're going long. I hope that you enjoyed this and that you got so much out of it. And just simple arrows. I mean, this is like our basic mind mapping, right? Or graphic organizer, right? Not much different, but everything's about Jamestown, American history again. And then the arrows are flowing to the different parts of the sketch note that the sketch note is about. And so everything's pointing to James, you know, coming out from Jamestown. Or this one is by my daughter, Annabeth. It was on a day in school. It was called, they could do the alphabet days to end the school year. And they talked about Q. And so she just has arrows pointing out to why it's going to be hard for her to be quiet. And if you've met Annabeth or experienced Annabeth, I can't imagine why Q day would be hard for her. You know, so there. Yes, Laura, Jamboard is awesome. They could hold a session on Jamboard for sure. All right, let's talk about structure. So structure is how we organize our sketch note, what order we put things in. And it can go in all different ways. We've seen the mind map one with the circle and the lines coming out. We've all seen that one, right? We've got our climax for reading. We've seen the timeline one. We've got our panels. So you saw a panel example earlier with the ones that were different examples throughout the time. And then sketch notes don't have to be like this fluffy flow around a paper. They can just be lined on a paper with images or icons next to them. Where sometimes those little circles, sometimes our sketch notes are just a hot mess and everything is everywhere. And that is okay too. Where am I going to squeeze this in? I'm going to push it down here. All right, so we're on structure, right? Yes. Farida, thank you so much for being here. If you have to leave, that's totally fine. We really appreciate you being here. And I'm so happy that you were able to connect with words about what you shared on Twitter. And it's thank you so much for this. Adrian, I'm going to share that at the end about the slideshow, so you'll have to pay attention at the end. I can also send out a tweet and tag GED on that. The little circles are right here, Stephanie. I call it the hot mess, or my sketchnoting friend and I call it a hot mess express. It's just when your ideas go anywhere. It doesn't matter. You're welcome, Wendy. Is that Wendy Pillars? I'm so happy that you were here. I'm sorry that I didn't recognize your name earlier. If that was you, I appreciate you more than I can tell you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm taking it that your thank you is a goodbye. I'll send you kisses later. I appreciate you so much, Wendy. Laura, I have several hashtags that I use. If my daughter was down here and any of my doodle and chatters, Horatio is here. He's a spider that we make fun of, but there's a spider on my doodle, on my sketch note. Annabelle Freak. Oh, Wendy. Wendy is also an author of a sketchnoting book. I'm going to call her a dear friend. And I just can't tell her how much I appreciate for her being here. Hashtags. So hashtag global GEG is what the group here is using. For me, we have our hashtag doodle and chat hashtag that we use. And then for my book, if you want to hashtag my pencil made me do it. So it's M, my pencil P, M, like the first letter of each word. My pencil made me do it. Georgina, help me out. Those are hashtags that I use also as well. All right, so structure. It's how we organize what we're learning, how we organize what we're thinking, how we organize our icons. So here we have students just sitting, butcher paper again, you guys. Love it. I feel like it's such an 80s thing to do, but I can never have enough. Yes, Tamina, thank you so much. That is what the hashtag is. And so here we have just kind of scattering out the notes. They're writing down the topics that they need to capture about the subtopics that they need to capture. My Twitter handle is @heckawesome. And so that should get you to me. And so they just put those subtopics anywhere they want to on that paper, and then we take notes about it in Sketchnote. Here it is again, you guys, the structure. So the students and I, when we take these big unit notes in social studies, at the beginning of the year, we all agree on how we're going to structure these sketch notes. And it gives everybody kind of an anchor for where information is going to go. We also create these as a group. And in addition to this, I've also taken, as a special education teacher, there's lots of strategies that we use to help students comprehend and connect with information. And so we've taken the EET, which is called the Expanding Expressing Tool, and I've made it into a sketch note. So you can take things that you're already doing, and thank you, Tamina, and you can turn them into a sketch note. So let's say you're still not ready to sketch note, and you still enjoy, it's part of your classroom, it's something you still like to do, is you like to take your typing notes, right? Take a time every other lesson, print out the notes and cut them up into strips. Students can take those strips and organize them on paper. They can talk about similar notes. What if I have a note that I took and you took a note, the same note, then that's probably a really valuable piece of information that we both need to keep. So taking what you're doing in class and cutting it into strips and having students organize it in a way can help them take something that they're already doing, which is taking notes on the computer or on the Chromebook, and then taking that and making it into a sketch note can help them see how a piece of paper with typed notes can become a sketch note. Here's a sketch note. I had a teacher who did not think that my students understood sketch notes that were all circular. And so we created a sketch note like this that went up and down. So this is pretty typical of like what you would take as notes, right? The difference is that we hand wrote it, and we also visualized our thinking, and we doodled to learn as we were doing it. Here's a quote that you could use. So quote here, it's kind of flipping the idea of structure. So you're taking a quote and you're having students visualize about that quote, or what does it mean to them? So notes are information, but so are pictures. So couldn't pictures be sketch notes too? So here we have a picture of an inauguration in the United States, and my students were learning about that part of American history. And so we took the picture and flipped it. And so the image became the base of the sketch note. And then we use containers and icons around it to point out the things that we saw. This is still a sketch note. Here's a sketch note by one of my children. They wanted to build a leprechaun trap. Or I'm sorry, they wanted to invent something. They wanted to invent some traps, you guys. Thank you, Stephanie. That's Instagram. And then on Twitter, there's no underscore. And so my child decided that they were going to brainstorm ideas for inventing a variety of different traps. All right, shading and coloring. And I'm going to go through this a little bit fast because you guys can listen and do this at the same time. That is not shading and coloring. So shading and coloring is just what it sounds like. It's something that we've done for forever and ever, right? We love to color, and we've been color coding in education for like forever. I'm going to just squeeze that right in there. Pink. Great. Ooh, made that A too big. Oops. Looks like a D. Oh well. So shading or colors and shading. Stephanie cracking me up. All right, so here we have, thank you so much. Here we have my students. We have, when we organize our notes, you've seen these before. They have, so that's the Civil War. And then they have specific parts of a sketch note that they know to add to it. It anchors. It's just a way that we anchor information in my classroom. If we were doing reading, it'd be who, what, when, where, why, you know. But each of the elements, like the who, is also anchored to a color. So like we have pink parts. It's part of the program that we use in my classroom. Blue do's. So thinking about how you can anchor colors to things that students use in your classroom, repetitive tasks, can also help amplify or improve their learning. So here we just have a lot of different colors. The student, you know, coloring the flag. We have our pink parts, our green group, our blue do, like I talked about before. That's how we organize colors in our classroom, but anchoring colors to things using the same color, when we talk about the same pieces of information, is a super powerful tool. And we've done this before. You guys all know about color coding and the power of anchoring color to things. Here's just some more color, bringing out elements in this. And coloring can be a great thing. I often save this till the end of a lesson because students just find great calm in coloring. And they also like that. And I also think, you know, we could take sketch notes in class and then they could go, oops, I want to go back. Not yet. And students could take sketch notes home and color them. And even if they're coloring, they still have to read the information. They have to look at the icon they're reviewing. But it's not that homework level that that is so frequently talked about meaningful versus not meaningful review. So coloring can be a great way for you to have students review information in your classroom as well. And that is sketchnoting. Even if you were going to color code notes, the Cornell Notes, I think Cornell Notes does, we don't use Cornell Notes, but they do some color coding. That element of Cornell Notes is there on purpose because it's an anchoring tool that helps anchor information in students' brains. All right, you guys, this brings me to the end of things. Thank you so much for, yes, use for phonics, 100%, Ira. I didn't know that, Chris. Thank you. I am too, Kimberly. So I'm done finally. Thank you so much for everybody who just put up with me staying longer. I apologize to anybody who had to leave. Well, they're not here now, right? But everybody can come back and view this. I'm so happy I did go over because I'm just happy that I got to talk about this with you guys. And I have a couple of different things to share. So I know people, hi, Georgina. I know people were wondering about this presentation. I do not have it to share out. I do have, and I'll share this out on Twitter. I do have a YouTube channel that is extensive. So a lot of what I've talked about here is available on my YouTube channel. I also have my book. I don't like to pitch for people to buy my book, but the YouTube channel is free. subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's tons of fun stuff there. We have Doodle and Chat. It's a weekly chat where we draw and chat and connect with other people from around the world. But I do have a very special opportunity for people that are still here. Georgina was a tiny bit of inspiration on this because there's been something we've been trying to get to work, and it did work. So now everybody gets to benefit from it. So if you were here, if you had fun, I would love for you to add what you loved on your sketch note, a takeaway that you might use tomorrow. I would love for you to take a picture of your sketch note about sketchnoting and share it out on Twitter using hashtag GlobalGEG and hashtag my pencil made me do it, MP MMD. And then I'm going to be giving away 2 versions of my book, Kindle for anybody overseas, and then a signed regular copy for anybody who's in the States or Canada. So I'll be watching Twitter until tomorrow at this time. And then I'll pull 2 names. I'll announce them on Monday because we have a holiday here in the States tomorrow. But I'll be collecting all of the fun sketch notes that I see that are shared out. You need both hashtags. And then I'll be giving away either a Kindle version. I mean, I guess I could send a Kindle version to the States too, if that's what you want. But I do have a signed copy that I can send to the States. So that is it.
Oh, wow. Wow. I think I need to just take a massive breather. That is the most amazing session of my creative life so far, Carrie. Oh. Thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you for letting me go over. I really need, I don't know. Next time somebody says, can you do the session in an hour? I'm like, no. Hard no.
I love that session. I really want to share our Jamboard just to show you, Carrie, what people have been doing behind the scenes while you've been just teaching us so much. So we did this collaborative Jamboard. We added some of your awesome pictures. I'm assuming you drew those, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. On this one, we've got some more people practicing sketch notes. And then we have Georgina's awesome pro tips.
Nice.
So make sure, I mean, we were trying to fit these on here. So whoever was helping me size them and move them around, thank you. I don't know who you were because you were anonymous. Cheetah maybe. So please let me know who you are. And then we'll share this out on Twitter as well. On slide 5, add your bit emoji, and we want you to answer this question. What is something that you're excited about and you're going to start trying with sketchnoting in the upcoming school year?
I love it.
So add your bit emoji. Let us know. You can either write it or you could add sketchnoting or you could even use the text. That's completely up to you. And then do not forget the exit doodle for those free books. How awesome is that?
Carrie is so kind and so gracious, and she gives so much of her free time to educators and anybody in the audience to come and doodle with her and her gorgeous daughter, who is just such a phenomenal inspiration to all of us, as well as the audience of Doodle and Chat family. So Carrie, thank you so much for offering to give away your books. Guys, this is really incredible. We are so lucky to have Carrie. So please do the exit doodle. I would be so touched to see all of the amazing doodles you guys are doing. And I know that it would mean the world to Carrie because I know that's the kind of person that she is. So Carrie, you are awesome, and super massive love to you for everything you're doing to make the world of education a better place and to help people bring out their own personal creativity. There has just been so much love for you and your session today in the chat. People saying, wow, and what a great idea, full of great ideas, obviously, and so much inspiration. So we're just so lucky. I kept asking if anybody has questions, please drop them in the chat. And they were either so busy doodling or trying to capture all of your takeaways that there weren't too many questions. But everybody is saying thank you so much, and such a wonderful, brilliant session. Even somebody said they would like to try it with their students. Oh, Carrie, somebody's ordered your book as well. They said it's going to arrive on the 5th of July. New book study, guys?
I'd be in for even jumping in on that.
Oh, this is so great. Oh, and look at all those Bitmojis, Carrie.
This is so awesome.
Guys, please make sure that you follow Carrie. It's at Heck Awesome. I dropped her Twitter handle in the chat several times for you guys. Please follow her YouTube channel, Doodle and Chat, and please come and doodle with us every Saturday. Don't ask me about time zones. I had a little bit of a fail forward on time zones earlier today. Georgina's time zone here in Amman, Jordan is about 5:33 p.m. ish, because we start at the ish hour. And I think, Carrie, you can announce your own time zone, because
No, I have a whole world map, and then I have to ask several times, what time zone is it? And then I have to do a Google search about, like, convert this to Central, because I'm just, it's not a strength. I did see Ira was asking about how to enter to win the books. If you snap a picture of the sketch note that you drew with us here today and share it out on Twitter using use hashtag GlobalGEG, or my pencil made me do it, MPMMDI, you'll be entered for a drawing for the books. And thank you so much to our Doodle and Chat crew. Kathy Sue has been here the duration. Kimberly, we saw Lindsay here for a while. So massive love to my Doodle and Chat people.
And Pam and Tamina. There were so many from Doodle and Chat, Carrie.
Yes. And we had, what an incredible group. Everybody, I'm overwhelmed. Yes, this is the effect of connection and that you guys have on Carrie. So thank you for giving her so much love in the chat. And I would like to give a big shout out to the Global GEG crew, who have not only been working phenomenally behind the scenes today, but also supporting on social media to bring all of these amazing educators to today's session. And we are so grateful for all of you Googlers out there and the time that you put in to come and learn and grow with Google together with us. So I'm sure that Stephanie would like to come on and ask you guys, as always, if you could send us some feedback on today's session. Here she is.
Yeah, make sure you fill out the feedback form. I believe Luis has been working super hard and he fixed our certificates. And this is a great problem. It broke because of the volume of people that are filling out the forms. So thank you. And if it doesn't come, please be patient and know Luis is working on it. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Annette. I didn't see you earlier. Thank you for being here. Diana and Deanna. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Global Chat. Global GED.
Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Thank you so much for coming to today's Global GEG presentation. Make sure you go to our website at globalgeg.org to find more information and ways to connect with us. One way you can connect with us is going to the website and joining our Google group. This will allow you to get a weekly email about upcoming events that Global GEG is hosting. Don't forget, you can share this recording with other educators or revisit it at any time at the same YouTube link. If you need a certificate of attendance, make sure you fill out the feedback form. Thank you again for joining us at Global GEG.